I got in my car to drive home after a party, but the second I gripped the wheel, I realized I was too drunk to drive. I climbed into the back seat so I could sleep and drive home sober, but hours later, a cop woke me up shining his flashlight. "Have you been drinking and driving?" I rolled down the window with my head pounding. "No, officer, I am indeed drunk, but I haven't driven at all. I'm sleeping so I can wake up and drive home only when I'm sober." But the cop leaned closer. "Well, being drunk in the vehicle and planning to drive is still a crime. I'm gonna need you to step out." I was tired and confused and showed him the car keys in my pocket. But these weren't even in the ignition. I wasn't planning to drive until I was sober, but he just motioned his hand for me to step out. I was frustrated and flailed my arms. "This is bullcrap. Would you rather me actually drive drunk instead of sleeping or something?" He must have felt threatened because he pulled his pistol out and aimed it inches from my head. I instantly froze. I couldn't believe this was happening, and as he cuffed me, people from the party gathered on the front lawn. "What's happening?" "Your buddy here wanted to drive drunk." The lifelong friends I'd been partying with watched me get shoved into the police cruiser, and I could tell by their faces they now saw me as a drunk driver. 3 weeks later, I was standing in court, and the judge looked at me. "You're facing 18 months in prison for driving under the influence, Mr. Moore." The cop stood smirking on the other side. He claimed he caught me while driving, but when it was my turn, I told the full truth. I was drunk, but never drove. I slept to sober up. My keys weren't in the ignition. The judge looked at the footage from the Ring doorbell and watched the cop harass me. "Did you really pull a gun on a man for choosing not to drive drunk?" The cop stammered and went pale. "But he was keeping himself and others safe," the judge interrupted. "Case dismissed." He banged his gavel, then looked up at the cop one last time. "I find this case pretty rich coming from an officer with a DUI on his own record." The cop froze, while I stood there twirling my car keys and laughing. I spent my last $50 on a Sam's Club membership, and 3 hours later, I was banned for life. I walked right up to the old man checking cards at the door. "One membership, please." He rolled his eyes at me and pointed me toward the registration desk. I grinned huge for my photo, and then walked straight to the pigs in a blanket sample cart, stacked 5 paper cups in a tower, and popped them back like shots. The demo lady stopped mid-sentence and watched in horror. I hit the orange chicken samples next, then the pot stickers, the yogurt cups, the protein bars, and circled back to the pigs in a blanket for round 2, then 3, then 4. This was the best I've eaten in months. The same demo lady reached for her walkie. The GM marched up with the greeter trailing behind him. Sir, you've been here 3 hours. My demo ladies are crying." "Sunday is free sample day," I said, and waved my card. "I paid for this." He glared at me. The greeter stepped in, took the card from my hand, and hole punched it through the photo. The GM jabbed a finger at my chest. "Your membership is terminated. You're banned from every Sam's Club in the country. Collect your refund at the desk." "Fine, I'll take my money elsewhere." I sat at my kitchen table that night designing a flyer. Free 8-pack of filet mignon. Saturday only. First 1,000 guests. No membership required. I printed 200 copies and slid them under windshields across town. Saturday I drove to Costco, used the refund to buy a membership, and grabbed the $1.50 hot dog combo. I sat on the hood of my car across the street from Sam's. By noon, the lot was packed, and the line wrapped the building. Inside, a mob waved flyers and screamed about their free steaks. The GM stumbled out the front doors, sweating through his vest. "I don't even have 8 packs of filet. And why do none of you have a membership?" A pig in the blanket flew out of the mob and hit him in the face. He spun in the chaos and locked eyes with me on the hood of my car. I held up the Costco hot dog and took a bite. Best $1.50 I've ever spent. I was waving my baseball cap in the air while my crush jumped to get it when suddenly a group of popular girls started circling us. Danny was still jumping to reach my cap, blushing so hard she didn't even notice them. "Stop! Give it back!" We were both giggling like idiots, and I couldn't wait to surprise her by asking her to prom, until Madison, the leader of the popular girls, stepped forward and pointed at me. "He's bullying her! He's making her jump for it like a dog!" For a second, I was extremely confused, but as I stared at her, I realized what was going on. You see, the last time I saw Madison, she had come by my lockers with a rose and poster. "Will you go to prom with me?" The whole school watched as I rejected her, and now she couldn't stand that I was flirting with the one girl in school that no one else ever noticed. But I wasn't going to let her bully us. I froze and threw both my hands up in the air so quickly that the cap fell to the floor. "What? No, we were just having fun." I was about to walk over, but that's when Madison shoved past me and reached for Danny's arm. "Come here, sweetie. You don't have to tolerate this behavior from him. Come stand with us. We're your friends." Everyone was yelling so loudly that the principal came out and grabbed my arm like he'd already decided I was a criminal. "I don't tolerate harassment. Come to my office. Now. We're calling your parents, and you can explain to them why you're being suspended." I glanced back to look at Danny, who looked like she was going to cry, and I knew if I went over to comfort her, then I'd be expelled instead of suspended. I decided I didn't care anymore. I twisted my arm out of his grip and walked over to her while the whole yard was still yelling. I walked back to where my cap was lying on the floor, picked it up, and set it on her head gently, like it was just us. The note I'd put in the cap earlier fell into her hands. As the principal grabbed my arm again, she read it. "I've been trying to ask you out for weeks. I kept chickening out. Will you go to prom with me?" We locked eyes as she nodded and mouthed, "Yes," and I raised my fist in the air to celebrate, to make her laugh one last time before I got expelled. My best friend got his head in a metal armchair, and the only way out meant death. He always had an irrational fear of Vaseline, so naturally, I brought a tub everywhere we went. We were at the hospital waiting for his 3 p.m. appointment when I pulled out my tub of Vaseline. He literally ran to the other side of the room, but with 30 minutes left until the appointment, I decided to stick my head through the gap in the armchair to pass the time. But when I tried to take it out, I realized I couldn't. My head was stuck. Suddenly, my friend pointed at me and laughed. "You're the dumbest person alive." He took photos of me and said, "That's what you get for bringing Vaseline." I told him to shut up and help me, but he smiled and said, "No, but what I will do is show you how to not get stuck." He stuck his head through the other armchair gap successfully, but when he tried to take his head back out, he realized he was also stuck. Both of our heads were caught in the armchairs, and the waiting room was empty. My friend screamed, "My appointment is in 10 minutes, and wiggled his head hard against the metal, staying stuck and bruising himself in the process. That's when I remembered my Vaseline. I lathered my face in it, making it slippery, and pulled my head out easily. I told my friend, "Your turn," but his eyes went wide and he said, "I'd rather die." He kept struggling, until finally, at 2:58, he looked at me with red eyes and a clenched jaw. "Do it." I pulled out the Vaseline and started smearing it all over his face and neck. He screamed and cried the whole time, and that's when the doctor stepped out of his office. He saw me rubbing Vaseline all over his patient's head, which was currently stuck in the armchair. From that day forward, I carried 2 tubs. It took me 2 months to ask my crush out, and 1 dinner to nearly throw it all away. My brother leaned against the doorway while I was getting dressed. "Where you taking her?" I looked up from tying my shoes. "Marcello's," he whistled. "Bro." He pulled a $100 bill out of his wallet, folded it in half, and pressed it into my hand. "Put that in your wallet. Salads at that place are $20. Only order what you can pronounce." I stuck it behind my license and finished getting ready. An hour later, I was sitting across from Hannah in a booth with a real candle on the table, watching her open a menu that didn't have prices on her side, but mine did. I shut it before she could see my face. The waiter came over with a notepad. "Anything to start?" He looked at Hannah. "Just a Cobb salad and water for me, please." I should have said the same thing. Instead, I wanted her to believe I ate in places like this all the time. "I'll do the fried calamari to start, the ribeye for the entree, and we'll take a look at dessert after." Hannah raised her eyebrows. "Hungry?" "Starving," I smirked. The food came out, and Hannah looked at her salad and at my pile of calamari. "You sure you don't want me to get my half of the bill?" she asked. I shook my head. "I got it. I asked you out." "You sure?" "I'm sure." When the waiter came back, he asked, "Any dessert tonight?" "Chocolate cake, please," I said. Hannah split it with me and stole the last bite off my fork. Then the waiter set the bill on the table in a little black folder and walked off. I reached for my back pocket, but it was empty. I reached for my other pocket and discovered it was empty too. I patted my jacket, but there was nothing in it. I pictured my wallet sitting on my bed at home with my brother's $100 bills still folded inside it, right on top of the shirt I had decided not to wear. "Everything okay?" Hannah asked. I opened the folder and saw the total at the bottom said $87.42. I just said it. "Hannah, I left my wallet at home. I am so sorry. I am so sorry." I waited for her to grab her jacket and walk out. Instead, she reached into her purse and pulled out a debit card. "My dad gave this to me for emergencies. I think this counts. I'll pay you back tomorrow. I swear." She just smiled at me. "I've been hoping you'd ask me out since September, you know." September? That was 2 months ago. I know. I walked her home that night. We split a soda from the gas station on the corner of her street, and she paid for that too. When I got home, my wallet with my brother's 100 was still on my bed. I went to bed feeling stupid and lucky. I walked into math class 2 minutes late, and the teacher immediately stopped me at the door with a pink tardy slip in her hand. "I will see you in Saturday detention." "Miss, my bus broke down on the way here from the hospital where I was visiting my mom, please." She held up her hand. "You clearly have no respect for authority, and I'm done talking to you. You're getting a suspension. Go to the principal's office." I stood there frozen in shock, and the entire class went silent. "Miss, please, I'm sorry. I can't afford a suspension. This will ruin my sports scholarship. Haven't you ever been late for something before?" She smiled at me like I was a toddler. "Nope, I'm ready for anything because I'm disciplined. Now get out." I walked out with only one thought. She had to pay. I spent the whole school year watching her, gathering information I could use against her, and that's how I found out she spent every summer in her Florida house, which meant her home would be completely empty. I broke into the principal office to find her address, and on the last day of school before summer, I marched straight to the garden center with my lawn money to buy supplies for my plan to ruin her. That night, I dug a trench across the mouth of her driveway and planted every single bamboo stick I bought all along her front yard. By July, it was past my chest, and I'd catch myself grinning at it mid-mow because I knew she was about to be cooked. The night before school started, she returned from Florida, and a cab dropped her off in the dark, and I watched from my porch as she stood frozen in front of a 12-foot wall of bamboo, her car trapped somewhere behind it. And when the first morning of school rolled around, I sat in her math class with my eyes glued to the door. Then the clock struck 8:01 a.m. She was officially 1 minute late for the first time ever. Kids started trading looks across the room, and I put my hands behind my head and kicked my feet on the table to sit back and enjoy the show. At 8:43 a.m., the door finally flew open, and she rushed in dripping sweat, blouse untucked, bamboo leaves still stuck in her hair. Before she even reached her desk, the principal leaned through the doorway behind her holding a clipboard. "An hour late on the first day? I will see you in Saturday detention, Mrs. Whitmore. Someone has to supervise it this semester." Her head whipped around the room until her eyes locked on mine, and I gave her a little wave. "I know it was you," she said through her teeth, but the principal was still standing behind her. "Mrs. Whitmore, are you trying to blame a student for your own mistakes?" She flipped around. I think it's best if you leave the school grounds immediately." I leaned in. "What's wrong? I thought you were ready for anything."